Greetings, Earthlings, and welcome again back to the Earth, our Mudfossil Gaia. So, I have another story to share with you guys, and this one is about what I'm going to call the legend people. I think there are so many different names for who they are all over the world. The legend people fits them best because it doesn't box them into any labels, because all these stories are them. All these legends are these people over and over again. I need to apologize before I start to read this. It was translated from Arabic, okay? So I'm gonna do the best I can with these names. Please forgive me because I know I'm gonna butcher a lot of them, okay? But I'm going to do the best I can, so please bear with me. The Akbar al-Zaman, also known by the alternate title, The Digest of Wonders. So I'm not going to read the whole book. I'm going to just touch on a few of the chapters here that give really great descriptions of some of the things that I've been showing you guys on Google Earth. And so after I read this to you, I will take and show you guys what I think they might be talking about. So, Chapter 2, The Nations Created Before Adam. It is said that God created 28 nations corresponding to the heavenly mansions inhabited the moon, because this star was the attendant, by the permission of God, of the government of the earthly world. These races were created using different mixtures of elements: water, air, fire, and earth, and the individuals in them had various forms. There is a race where the individuals are tall and very agile and have wings, and whose language is formed by the snapping of fingers. In another race, the individuals have the bodies of lions and birds' heads, covered in hair and having long tails, and their language is a buzzing. In another, they have 2 faces, one in front and one behind, and several feet. Their language is similar to that of birds. These nations are the jinn. There is among others a kind of jinn which has the form of dogs, complete with tails. Their language is an incomprehensible growl. In another of these races, individuals resemble men, except that they have their mouths in the middle of their chests and speak by whistling. Another race is similar to long snakes, provided with wings, legs, and tails. Others are like halves of men, having only one eye, a hand, and a foot, and walking by jumping and bounding. Their language resembles that of cranes. Others have the faces of men and lions covered tortoise shell-like turtles. They have claws for hands, long horns on their heads, and their language is similar to the howling of wolves. Others have 2 heads with 2 faces, like the heads of lions. They are great and speak an incomprehensible language. Others have a round face, white hair, tails like oxen, and they spit fire from their mouths. Others look like women with hair, breasts, and there are no males in this race. These women are made pregnant by the wind, and they bring forth that individual who resemble them. They have lovely voices, and they attract many of their races by the charm of their voices. Others are shaped like reptiles and insects. Although they are tall, they eat and drink like cattle. Still others are like the beasts of the sea, but they have tusks like wild boars and long ears. The rest of these 28 breeds are of various forms, and all have a wild appearance. They say that these nations interbred and that the number of distinct races grew to 120. The jinn, their tribes, and their kinds. They asked the Emir of believers, Ali bin Abu Talib, if before Adam there existed on earth creatures capable of serving God. He replied, yes, God created the earth, and then he put onto it races of jinn who celebrated ceaselessly his glory and holiness. They flew into heaven, they met with the angels, they greeted them, and they received from them the knowledge of good and of the disasters that would arrive from heaven. But some of the jinn rebelled, rejecting the authority of God and filling the earth with injustice. Some elevated themselves above the others. They shed blood, and they displayed corruption and contempt for divine things. The rest of the jinn persevered in religion and in obedience and broke the rebels. They, because of their submission, could continue to fly up to heaven. Angels, as we have said above, are spiritual creatures equipped with wings that enable them to fly where God sends them. They live between the levels of heaven, and there they praise God and proclaim his holiness tirelessly until they are called for a mission. The angel closest to God is Raphael. Michael comes after him, then Gabriel. The revelation is passed from one to another until it reaches us. The Indians, the Persians, and the Greeks treated the genealogy and the tribe of the jinn and gave the names of their kings, and they believed they were divided into 21 tribes. When their empire had lasted 5,000 years, they appointed a king from among themselves and called Shamanil, son of Aras. Then they divided and named 5 kings, and they stayed a long time in this state. At the end, some of the jinn attacked each other, and there were a great number of battles and terrible wars. That right there sounds just like the Mahabharata. Iblis, the devil, is a jinn. He has many names varying with languages. His name in Arabic is Al-Harit, and his nickname, Abu Murrah, father of bitterness. He was a very powerful creature. He ascended into heaven, stood in the middle of the angelic orders, and served God with great zeal. When discord broke out among the jinn, and these wars took place among them, he came down to earth with an army of angels and defeated and massacred the jinn. Then he established his empire on earth. But he swelled with pride and provocation. One of his sins was his refusal to prostrate or bow before Adam, as God tells us in his book. His form was changed into a hideous one, a figure of great repulsiveness, and all the tribes of the jinn disowned him and moved away from him in horror. Seeing this, he fixed his abode on the sea. God made him raise a throne on the water. Later, he fathered a lineage, as Adam did. But the deformity of his race was manifested even in the act of reproduction. His descendants were similar to birds in this and hatched from eggs. The scholars have mentioned the types of jinn. According to them, there are 35 tribes of Satans, 15 tribes of jinn that fly in the air, 25 tribes of jinn who walk on land, 20 tribes of jinn that live in the water, 12 tribes of jinn who run in storms, 10 tribes of jinn who run in the flame, 30 tribes of jinn occupied with the magic of sounds. The kings of these tribes are responsible for protecting them against danger. It is reported that there is a kind of fairy that assumes the form of a beautiful woman and marries men. This adventure happened, they say, to Sa'id bin Ubair. He married one of the women fairies without knowing what she was. She stayed close to him and gave him children. One night, while she was with him on a terrace overlooking the countryside, plaintive voices of women were heard in the distance. She was troubled and told her husband, Do you not see the fairy lights? I leave to your care your house and your children. And she flew away and did not return. There is also a kind of jinn that sets upon men when they find him alone in the rocks or in ruins. They take him by the hand, forcing him to dance until he falls down dizzy, and they suck his blood. There are some which are no different than snakes. Sometimes men kill them and die immediately. If the killer is a child, his father dies, or someone even more powerful. It is said that a young Ansarian companion of the Prophet, being close to getting married, asked the Prophet for permission to celebrate the wedding and reunite his family at a feast during the Battle of the Ditch. The Prophet allowed him to do so. Back at his home, this Ansarian found his wife standing at the door. He conceived a great jealousy and made the gesture of directing his spear against her, but she stopped and said, Abandon this thought, and instead enter and see what is on your bed. He entered and saw on the bed a great snake. He killed it with a spear, and instantly he died. Ibn Abbas said, Most tame animals are types of jinn. Dogs, among others, are jinn. When they see you eat, throw them some of your food, because they have souls. That is to say, that they understand what they see with their eyes. Among the wonderful creatures, one must mention the Nas-Nas. The Nas-Nas is built like a half a man. It has one hand and one foot. He walks and jumps and he runs with great speed. Once it was found in Yemen and sometimes in non-Arabic countries. The Arabs hunted and ate it. It is said that in the east of the world toward the sea, there is a breed that is both human and wild beast. Individuals have a wide face and are hairy like the lion, have round and shiny eyes, sharp teeth, long tails, and long ears. But they have the bodies of men, except the extremities are provided with large, curved, and sharp claws. There are more nations beyond that. They serve as food for the animals of the sea. One of the races that is most similar to that of man is the Wak-Wak. These individuals hang from branches by their hair. They have breasts and sexual organs similar to those of women, and they have a ruddy complexion. They constantly shout, Wak-Wak, and if one of these females is captured, it goes silent and falls dead. Another wonderful breed is that of the marine women called water girls. They have the appearance of beautiful women with flowing hair. They are provided with developed sex organs and breasts, and they speak an incomprehensible language accompanied by laughter. Sailors have recounted that they had been thrown by the winds against the island where there were forests and freshwater rivers, and there they heard shouts and laughter. They approached unseen and surprised two women whom they tied up. They remained with those whom had captured them. The sailors visited them all the time, and they found great pleasure in them. One of them made her his mistress and took off her chains, but immediately she ran into the sea, and he never saw her again. The other remained captive to his master. She became pregnant by him, and she gave him a son. The sailor took her to the sea with the child. Having seen the ship that she did not want to wish to be separated from her son, he he had pity on her and removed her bonds. Immediately she abandoned the child and jumped into the sea. The next day she showed herself to the sailor and threw him a shell that contained a precious pearl. Al-Masudi said, "We have spoken of the celestial spirits from what we have learned, but God knows his creation best, and of all other things, looking for wonderful legends and not the exact truth. Whosoever reads our book will have to guard against the stories we report herein. In God we find our strength, salvation, and duration." Chapter 3. The Earth and what it contains. Ibn Abad al-Hakam said, "The earth was created in the image of a bird, with the head, chest, wings, feet, and tail. The head is Mecca, Medina, and Yemen. The chest is Syria and Egypt. The right wing is formed by Iraq, going to the land of Wakwak, or the land of Wak and Wakwak, and by the nations of Sind and Hind. The left wing includes Meshech and Menshak, Gog and Magog, and numerous nations. The tail goes from Dat al-Hammam up to the west of the sun and the Black Sea. According to a tradition, God created two cities, one in the east named Yabulka, the other in the west called Yabulsa. Each of these cities has a length of 10,000 parasangs, and each has 10,000 gates placed every 2 parasangs. 10,000 men stand watch nightly at these gates, and they will not return from their watch until the day of resurrection. The inhabitants live about 7,000 years. They eat, drink, and take women. They have developed several sciences. Their manners are noble and worthy of all praise. Both cities are located outside of our world. Neither the sun nor the moon illuminates them, and they know neither the sons of Adam nor the sons of Iblis. Their inhabitants serve and praise God. They live in a light that is not borrowed from our stars, but that descends on them from the tabernacle. God has 18,000 worlds, of which our earthly realm is but one, and in this same world, the inhabited parts are like a mustard seed in the palm of the hand. The traditionalists say that God still has a huge beast living in a meadow in a hollow known only to himself, and eating every day as much as all the animals that are in the world eat together. Glory to the Almighty who makes all things beautiful." Okay, so this is the famous Perry-Reese map. And this is a pretty detailed one of it. And here are the jinn. And here's some more of them up here dancing. And a lot of people have speculated, where he's saying these lands are, because up over here, where we have this beautiful snake, this is Antarctica. This is Antarctica. And over here we have South America. So this would be like Patagon or Land of the Giants there in South America on some of these maps. And over here is North America with huge castles on it. I think this is Iceland. And in part 2, here's the fish that they landed on and thought it was an island. Yeah, so someone took this and actually overlaid it on a globe here to give us a little better idea of what they're talking about. I wish I could spin it like I can my Google Earth. But you can see over here in South America where we have those gin. And I believe if I find the other pieces to this as it goes across, I think there's a dragon up here too. And there's you can see Antarctica way down there. So in the part of the story where they say God constructed the earth in the shape or likeness of a bird, this is the picture that they give us in the book. And what they say is that this is basically the head and beak of the bird. This is one wing. And this is another wing, I guess. And the tail and stuff kind of come down here. And that is supposed to be the great bird. Pretty cool, right? What I thought was really interesting, though, is how there is no North America or South America or anything else on here. We have this is when the world was upside down, is what they say this map is, when the world was upside down. So right here we have Saudi Arabia, and this top wing up here, this is Africa. And then down here we've got, India and China and Europe up over here. So all these extra lands, when it starts talking about the sea and farther away from like this land that they know of, that's what they're talking about. They're talking about the other half of the world, the North America, South America, I guess Antarctica too. So yeah, the word Patagonia also means land of mythical creatures. Thought that was pretty cool. Now on this map, this right here is South America, Brazil, right? And they are chopping up body parts and cooking them and eating them. And they say that these are cannibals, right? But in that story I read, over here in this land is a creature they call the Nos. Now the nos, they only have one leg and one arm. And because they're already chopped up here, we can't really tell if it only had one arm and one leg. This could have been just one arm and one leg. And apparently the nos have very delicious flesh. They are very highly sought after, which is probably why there aren't any left, because they ate them all. So I was just wondering, maybe these aren't actual cannibal pictures, but maybe they were eating these nos creatures. Just thought I'd put that out there. It's still strange meat, but maybe it's not actually the strange meat. I don't know. Over here in North America, there are so many legends. I've shared a few with you guys. I'll be sharing a few more. There are so many that I've already found that I just need to do the presentations on. This guy here is one of them. This is one of the monsters that the Monster Slayer slays. And so I will dive deeper into his story in that video. I just wanted to show you, look at this guy. Almost exactly like the pictures of these faces with their heads on their chests on the map. And this was in North America. Just a coincidence? I could probably go on all day showing you guys more correlations between these legend people in this book and stories of these creatures all over the world. I just found it extremely fascinating that a book that was found here on this side of the world has extremely accurate depictions of the same kind of stories of creatures from this side of the world. And you guys know I don't believe in coincidence. So I'm going to end this here today, and I will continue with part 2 and introduce you guys to the wonders of the sea and show you guys some of the things that I've found out in the ocean. So if you haven't done so already, don't forget to hit that subscribe button. Make sure that bell's ringing so that you're notified when my next video comes out. Until next time.